Man, Eagles fans, what a ride that Packers game turned out to be. I know. Everybody's been talking about how boring it was, and I get it. For the first half, I was sitting there thinking, did someone forget to turn the game on? 0-0, no rhythm, no spark, just a bunch of punts and field position battles like it was 1975 football all over again. But you know what? The Eagles still walked out of Lambeau with the win, and that's what matters. Sometimes it's not about lighting up the scoreboard. Sometimes it's about surviving the cold, grinding through, and proving that even when it's ugly, this team can still come out on top. The first two quarters felt like watching two coaches play chess, but forgetting how the pieces move. Both defenses were balling out, shutting everything down. The Packers had their moments, but the Eagles' defense matched them hit for hit. And yeah, I saw a lot of people throwing shade at Kevin Patullo for his play calling. But come on, this wasn't the game to go all-out aggressive. You don't go for wild trick plays when it's freezing in Lambeau, and both teams can barely keep their footing. The Packers tried to be bold early, and it cost them big. They went for it on fourth down a few times, got stuffed, and never really recovered. That's when I realized the Eagles were playing the smarter game. This was a take the points when you can kind of night. You punt if you have to, you settle for field goals, and you trust your defense. Sure, when it's 3rd and 12 and we're just running the ball, I was losing it on the live stream. But looking back, it made sense. This wasn't the night to test fate. You just had to grind, keep possession, and wait for the right moment to strike. The weather was brutal, the ball was slick, and Lambeau's wind was doing its thing. These are the games that don't look pretty on paper, but they build character and championships. Now, offensively, I'd give the performance a solid C, and that's being fair. Jalen Hurts wasn't perfect. He had that fumble that could have been costly, but luckily, it didn't turn into points for Green Bay. The offense never fully clicked, but they also didn't implode. That's important. Sometimes it's not about being explosive, it's about avoiding disaster. Hurts still managed to throw a touchdown, didn't toss any picks, and kept his composure when the game got tight. That's leadership, even in a low-scoring grind like this one. But Nick Sirianni, man, I don't know what that 4th and 6 call was near the end of the half. 20-something seconds left, and you dial up a deep shot to A.J. Brown? In that situation? You can't do that. You just can't. It looked like he was trying to force-feed his star receiver, maybe trying to make up for a quiet night, but that's not how you manage a game like this. You take the points, or at least run something safe to kill the clock. A slant, a curl, something short and controlled. Instead, we go for the home run ball in freezing wind, and I was sitting there thinking, what are we doing? It felt reckless, unnecessary, and almost disrespectful to how well the defense was playing. If you've got a defense locking things down, you don't gamble it away trying to satisfy stats. Speaking of defense, oh man, the defense was everything. A+, no, scratch that, A+++. This is the kind of defensive performance that reminds you why Philadelphia is feared. Jalen Phillips looked like a monster out there. 8 pressures, 7 hurries, 6 tackles, a forced fumble, a recovery. The guy was everywhere. That's what we've been waiting for, that kind of presence off the edge. You could feel his energy, every snap, every chase. He was in Jordan Love's head before halftime. Love couldn't get comfortable, couldn't find rhythm, because every time he dropped back, there was someone in his face. And not just Phillips. Jalen Hunt stepped up too. He looked fresh, hungry, and ready to make plays. You could tell the rotation helped him. When he's not being asked to play every down, he gives you quality snaps, and that's what you want from your depth guys. Nolan Smith, too, you could see the flashes. Every time he got on the field, he was creating pressure, forcing Jordan Love to move off his spot. That's the kind of energy this defense needs. And speaking of guys stepping up, let's talk about Adoree Jackson. I've been saying it for a while. People need to chill on the Adoree hate. Every week I see comments saying he's washed, that he can't cover, that he's a liability. But watch this game back. He played one of his best games of the season. Locked in, focused, and physical. The coverage was tight, the tackling was clean, and he wasn't giving anything easy. It's funny how quick fans are to turn on players after one bad week. But when they bounce back, nobody wants to admit it. Well, I'll say it, Adoree showed up. He proved why he deserves that CB2 spot. The linebackers were flying too. Reed Blankenship looked sharp, always around the ball, and you could feel his presence in the run game. Nakobe Dean had a mixed night, Some good stops, a few mistakes, but that sack fumble play made up for it. Zach Bond just kept doing Zach Bond things. Quiet, efficient, reliable. That's what you love about him. You might not hear his name every drive, but you can always count on him to be in the right place. Up front, Jalen Carter reminded everyone why he's such a difference maker. The tipped passes, the pressures, the way he disrupted Jordan Love's timing, it all mattered. Even when Carter wasn't making the tackle, he was affecting the play. The Packers' offense just looked uncomfortable the whole night. Love was seeing ghosts out there, rushing throws because he knew someone was coming for him. When your defensive line can get in the quarterback's head like that, you're winning before the ball even snaps. Now, I'll admit, the offense didn't exactly match that energy. A.J. Brown didn't have his day. He was frustrated, you could tell. But even when he wasn't getting the targets he wanted, he still found ways to help. That block on the Saquon Barkley screen? Pure hustle. That's what being a leader looks like. Goddard was solid too. No touchdowns, but he was reliable when Hurts needed him. Devonta Smith caught the dagger, that late touchdown that finally put the game to bed. It was a perfect throw, perfect route, and the timing couldn't have been better. It wasn't pretty. 10-7. You don't write stories about games like that. But you know what? These are the wins that separate good teams from great ones. When your division rivals are losing, when the Cowboys can't get it together, when Washington is spiraling, and the Giants are just existing, you take these wins and stack them. Every one of them matters. Because at the end of the year, no one remembers how you won in Lambeau. They just see the W. So yeah, go ahead and call it a snooze fest. I did too at one point. But when you zoom out, when you look at what this game really was, it was a cold, gritty test of discipline. The Eagles didn't get fancy. They didn't panic. They played smart, took care of the football, leaned on the defense, and left Lambeau with another notch in the win column. Sometimes, conservative football is the right call, especially when you're facing a quarterback like Jordan Love who's still figuring himself out and missing key weapons. You don't need fireworks to prove a point. You just need to control the game, play mistake-free football, and walk away with the victory. You know what's funny about games like that? They tell you who your team really is. Not when everything's working, not when the scoreboard's lighting up, but when things get slow, when momentum disappears, and you have to claw for every single yard. That's when you learn what kind of DNA your team's got. And the Eagles, for all the frustration, showed they can still win ugly. You can't underestimate that. A lot of teams fall apart in games like this. They get impatient, start forcing throws, missing tackles, trying to make something out of nothing. But Philly stayed grounded, and that matters more than a highlight reel ever will. Let's talk more about Jalen Hurts for a second. Because yeah, the numbers weren't crazy, but there's something about the way he handles games like this that stands out. You could see it in his body language. Calm, patient, focused. The guy never panics. The first half was brutal. Drives kept stalling. The play calling was conservative to the point of frustration, but Hurts never lost his composure. He just kept taking what the defense gave him. That's maturity. That's leadership. You don't need to throw for 300 yards every week to prove you're elite. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do as a quarterback is not to lose the game. And that's exactly what he did. His connection with Devonta Smith continues to be one of the most underrated parts of this offense. Every time the Eagles need something steady, Smith's there. Smooth routes, soft hands, perfect timing. That dagger touchdown, that was pure chemistry. It looked effortless, but it was the result of trust built over years. They didn't need 50-yard bombs or circus catches. Just precise execution. That's championship-level football. Now, about A.J. Brown. I know fans are going to talk. He didn't get the targets he wanted. He didn't have a big stat line. But I promise you, the effort was still there. The way he blocked downfield, the energy he brought even without the ball, that's what you want from your top guys. When your best player's willing to do the dirty work, it sets the tone for everyone else. That's what made that Saquon Barkley screen work. The moment Barkley cut upfield, there was AJ throwing himself into a block like the game depended on it. That's team football right there. The running game, though, man, it never really found its groove. The Packers' defensive front deserves credit for that. They were stacking the box, closing lanes, and making it tough to establish rhythm. Still, those short runs mattered. They wore down the defense just enough to keep the clock moving and keep the Eagles in control. Sometimes a 2-yard run is a win when you're playing chess instead of checkers. What impressed me most, though, was how the defense carried themselves from the opening snap to the final whistle. It wasn't just effort, it was discipline. Every assignment was tight. Every tackle had intent. You could tell they were prepared. Sean Desai, or whoever's running the defensive calls, deserves credit because they came in with a plan and executed it perfectly. The goal was simple: make Jordan Love uncomfortable, and don't let the Packers' run game open up. Mission accomplished. Jalen Phillips was the heartbeat of that front. He played like a man possessed. Every snap, he looked like he was ready to wreck a play. It wasn't just about the stats, it was the energy. The kind that spreads through a defense, where everyone starts flying around with the same intensity. When you've got a pass rusher who can create pressure on his own, it changes everything. Suddenly, your corners don't have to cover forever. Your safeties can play freer. The whole defense tightens up. That's what Phillips brought. And then there's Jalen Carter. Every time that guy gets a hand on the ball, it feels like something good happens. Those tipped passes completely threw off Jordan Love's rhythm. You could see him hesitating, double-clutching, questioning every read. When a quarterback starts seeing ghosts, that's when you know the front seven's doing its job. The scary thing is, Carter's still young. He's still learning, still figuring out how to maximize that power. But when it clicks, when everything aligns, he looks unstoppable. The linebackers deserve their flowers too. Nakobe Dean had moments where you wanted to pull your hair out. That holding call was rough, but overall, he was flying around, making tackles, and bringing pressure. You can tell he's starting to get more comfortable reading plays before they happen. Reed Blankenship had a strong game as well. One of those steady performances where nothing flashy happens, but you look up at the end and realize he didn't miss a single assignment. That's exactly what this defense needs. Guys who just do their job and do it well. Even Adoree Jackson, who's been catching a lot of heat lately, showed why patience pays off. He looked sharp, played with confidence, and shut down his side of the field. People love to overreact after one bad week, but cornerback is one of those positions where you need consistency over perfection. And this week, Adoree gave the team consistency. He's not elite, but he's reliable, and that's what wins games like this. The more I think about it, the more I realize this one said more about the Eagles' mental toughness than their physical dominance. You don't walk into Lambeau in November, in that wind and cold, and expect fireworks. You just survive. You lean on the defense, take advantage of mistakes, and stay disciplined. Philly did all of that. They didn't give Green Bay an inch. The Packers tried their trick plays, tried their fourth down gambles, and every single time, the Eagles stood tall. And that's the difference between a playoff team and everyone else. A playoff team knows how to win when things get ugly. You don't fold because the offense isn't clicking. You adjust. You grind. You trust your system. The Eagles did exactly that. They trusted their preparation, trusted their defense, and trusted Jalen Hurts to manage the game. And now, while the rest of the division is slipping, with the Cowboys dropping games, Washington imploding, and the Giants barely hanging on, the Eagles just keep stacking wins. It doesn't matter how flashy they are. All that matters is the record. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. Whispers are spreading fast across the league, and if the latest reports hold any truth, the upcoming showdown between the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles could be about to change dramatically. Multiple sources close to team operations are hinting that the NFL is preparing a disciplinary action that might alter not only the balance of this game, but potentially the course of both teams' seasons. While no official statement has been released, insiders describe an atmosphere of growing tension within the league office. Some claim the issue involves a violation related to pre-game conduct or procedural irregularities discovered during recent reviews. Others suggest that the situation could involve a more serious infraction, something that, if confirmed, might lead to player suspensions or even impact team personnel decisions. The details remain closely guarded, but the tone inside the league's corridors feels urgent. In Minnesota, the mood is reportedly one of anxious silence. Coaches and staff have refused to comment, and players have been instructed to stay focused amid the uncertainty. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, the Eagles camp appears cautious but confident, with one anonymous source describing the team as ready for anything, but aware something big might be coming. The timing couldn't be worse for either franchise. Both teams have been navigating critical moments in their campaigns, and a league decision of this magnitude could ripple through the entire NFC. Analysts are already speculating that a major ruling could shift playoff projections and even affect future trade considerations. Fans, of course, are fueling the storm online, flooding social media with theories, leaked messages, and unconfirmed claims. Some believe the issue is minor and overblown. Others are convinced this is only the beginning of a much larger controversy. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The NFL rarely moves this quietly without reason. The entire football world is now watching and waiting, wondering whether the league's next move will rewrite the story of Vikings versus Eagles before a single snap is played. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.